Hello, we'll start that again, shall we? Welcome to another episode of Andy's Shed Live. This is Series 17, episode number 7 for Sunday the 8th of June 2025. I do hope that you have had a good couple of weeks since we were last on. We weren't on last week, and a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks. A heck of a lot has happened. Let me alter the lighting. So, that's improved it a little bit, hasn't it? Right. Yeah, there's a lot has happened over the last few weeks. Packed show for you tonight. I've got to move with it fairly quickly, so we're going to do a bit of housekeeping to start with. As you'll see, we have got the chat down there as normal. That is YouTube chat. Find us on YouTube if you're watching live and you want to join in the chat. Looks like we've already got Christopher and Wesley with us here this evening. They are in the chat there, and just below the chat there you'll see this thing here. This is the buy me a coffee thing. Now we don't do Patreon anymore. If anybody wants to support the channel, that's the way to do it. Go there, buymeacoffee.com/Andy's Shed, and you can chuck a couple of quid in the old tip jar there, literally to buy me a coffee, or not, as the case may be. Right. So with all that out of the way, I'd better get on with it, because there's a lot on this week. First thing is, Christopher, I'm glad you're here, because your letter finally arrived. Christopher's been saying, "Have you got my letter? Have you got my letter?" for like probably about a month now, isn't it, Christopher? And it never arrived, but it has arrived. In the last few days. So I'll give you a brief synopsis of what Christopher put in his letter. It says, "Hi Andy, I'm sending you a little gift in this envelope. Some old original train and tram tickets. My friend gave me a whole bunch, so I thought I would share some with you. For Easter." That's how long the letter's been on its way. It's Easter. I'm sorry. I'm trying to focus my eyes. My eyes aren't what they used to be. It says, "Thought I would share some of these tickets with you for Easter. The blue one is called the Met card, which is that, I'm guessing. The blue one is it's called the Met card. I'm giving you the most popular tickets, and it was used from 1998 until 2012, when it was phased out. And here's a little story about these tickets. When the Labour Party introduced this Met card in the 1990s, it caused a big uproar with the tram and bus unions, called the Public Transport Corporation, and it caused a big strike that stopped all the trams and buses in Melbourne." You know, I think I remember hearing something about that, because it was making tram conductors and bus conductors lose their job. So I'm guessing you buy these before you get on and then stick them in a validator, do you, Christopher? Very similar to around about the same time what they had here in Sheffield. Very similar. In fact, I would bet it uses the same technology, because the ticket looks very similar to the old Sheffield tram tickets. The strike involved tram workers, including drivers and conductors, who protested against proposed changes to tram operations and the introduction of the automatic Met ticket system. The strike saw trams blockading the city centre and depots being occupied. We have a new ticketing system now, similar to the Oyster cards in London. My friend and I have done something funny to stir up the ticket inspectors, we have glued the original blue Met card on the front of the new Mickey card, and it looks like the old PTC ticket. I'm also including it says a 1 cent coin with a round 80% silver 1966 50-cent coin. I forgot the one. I've not got the 1 cent coin with me, but I've got the other one with me. Don't know what I've done with the 1 cent one. Put it somewhere. Put it somewhere for safekeeping. It's so safe I don't know where I've put it. So yeah, silver coin. Actually, and it has got high silver content in it. You can tell if I transition you to the other camera, you might even be able to see it. Hang on, I'm going with this focus. Actually, it's that way up to you guys. There you go. Can you see that? 50 cents, and it's way better than a British coin. It's like smoother and shinier somehow. I don't quite know how, but it's like there's something different to how they make coins in this country. But it has still got the same portrait of the Queen, like on every British coin, on the other side of it. It's 80% silver 1966 50-cent coin. I also include some photos of the Mickey Met card. I know this letter is going to arrive a bit late, but hope you have a happy Easter and a great time. Best wishes from Christopher. So thank you for that, Christopher. And he has included some of the old tickets. So I can show you some of these. These are the old Met cards that they had, which are very similar to what they used to have in Sheffield, with the magnetic stripe on them. See those? And I'm interested what issued these, Christopher, because they're on very lightweight paper, like they've come off a ticket roll, but they're cut on 3 sides and torn on one side, as if they're issued out of a little book or something. You see, we had tickets like this very similar in the UK on trams and things, but they were like a cardboard ticket. They were much more substantial than this, and then you punched a hole in them. More like this one you've got here. This rail off-peak Chatham. I'm sure that's not the Chatham that I'm thinking of. And V-line. Econ return Geelong to Camperdown concession. I never know if it's Geelong or Geelong. I'm wanting to say it's Geelong, but I'm never certain. But see, that's a card ticket, that one. And we've got some more of these. But what's brilliant about these is the adverts on the back. And this one has got an advert on the back of it for Lille. Lille stationers, printing stationers and office system manufacturers, and they have a thing called a Cotex or Cotec label maker. It says, "A wise man ignored untutored critics." So apparently they put like a Confucius type saying on the on the back of the tickets. But the advert, when you look at what that thing actually is, it's what we in the UK would know as a Dymo machine. You can still get Dymo machines, I think you can't you, but they're not as good now as they used to be. But that's got a thing for a Dymo machine on the back of it. What's the other one got on the back? This one that I had earlier. Start printing. Lauren and Clark. Our standard end of service ensures your peace of mind. And the saying on the back of this one: 2 points about income. Make it first and make it last. I think we should have a clever sort of fortune cookie type sayings on our bus and train tickets. For convenience, safety, budgeting, cash or purchases, bang at State Bank. Just brilliant, the adverts, aren't they? And it's a 70-cent ticket. And finally, a different one for Leo. Telephone book cover. A lot of us would rather be ruined by praise than saved by criticism. Honestly, it says these things on the bottom of the ticket. They're just brilliant. They still do that, Christopher. It's quite amusing, that. And the Kiki card, or whatever, is apparently this thing in this bottom picture here, and Christopher has stuck one of these over the top of it to make that thing that you see at the top there, which I think is quite clever. Brilliant. So thanks for that, Christopher. That's absolutely excellent. That is, and I shall put those tickets with my collection, because I do have I've got quite a lot of old ticket issuing machines actually, off the buses and trams and things. So I shall put those with them. So thank you very much for all of that. Right, put my coin out of the way as well. Right, got to get my camera straightened up again. Okay. Right, let's have a look what we've got here now. Right, I can take that off there. Right, what are folks saying in the chat? Who have we got? We've only got Christopher and Wesley, it seems, tonight. Chris says, did you get the photo I sent? By email? No, is the answer to that one. Although I've not checked my email yet today, so if you sent it today, Christopher, it may be waiting for me somewhere in the ether. Christopher says the Metcard machines were on the trams and trains and buses and at the station to get the Metcard from. Right, so you could buy them either on the vehicle or not. See, in Sheffield you couldn't buy them on the trams. You had to get them before you got on, and you had to. And it was really stupid because you had to buy your ticket out of a machine, and then at the side of that machine was another machine that you then had to stick your ticket into to validate it. So they'd got two machines to go wrong instead of one, and that didn't last very long. Christopher says the paper tickets are tram tickets. Wesley says, I think the pronunciation of the place is Geelong. Geelong, Geelong, Geelong. It could be any of those. We know where it is though. We know where it is because Christopher's there. Neville says, I'm here. Oh, hi Neville. And Jason King says Arthur is here as well. Right, brilliant. I'm glad about that, for reasons that we'll come to in a minute. Gambo is here as well. Hi Gambo. He says, hey Andy and all, I need to ask a big favour from you. One that's made me hate the thing. I've not touched it for 6 months. What is it? What is it that you've not touched for 6 months? Oh, Christopher says that the Met card was the same. You have to buy it out of a machine and stick it in a validator. Could you buy it on the trams though, or was the validator just on the trams, Christopher? Because they did have like big. I know certainly the old trams in Australia. They used to tend to have like a big platform that you piled onto the tram, stood on a big platform, and then went through a turnstile in a lot of them, didn't you? And then took a seat. And did some of them have seated conductors, like they do in America, or like they did in America, where the conductor was like seated at a desk? Right, just waiting for Gambo to tell us what he needs a favour with. Phones have been trickling in slightly. Wesley says, I'll try again, he says. Jurlong. Where are you getting the R from, Wesley? Jurlong. I've got no idea. I've got no idea. I think you should spell things the way you pronounce them. I think that should be a legal requirement. Yeah. The buying machines and the veil machines, the validator machines were on the trams. Crikey. When you got both of them machines actually on each vehicle, sure there's not actually that much space for passengers. Where she says, I'm spelling it phonetically. Jurlong. Jurlong. Yeah, it could be, Wesley. It could be. My Australian accent is terrible. But maybe if I did it in an Australian accent, which I can't because I'm crap at it, maybe it would make a bit more sense. Right, yeah. Come on then, Gambo. Don't keep it in suspense. What is it? Bit like Germany, but Jurlong. Right. I think we've sorted that out. I think. I hope. Right. I'm just waiting for the chat to catch up with me. Geelong. Gambo says, it's this Indian telephone. I've 3 to make one work. If I sent you the phone, would you look at it and see if you can get one or more working? The white one's defo. There's 3. 2 white, 1 black. We can have a go, Gambo. We can have a go. I've actually still got some others that I'm in the process of doing for one of you guys. But yeah, we can have a go. Are they like 300 series type phones, Gambo? and they're like 332 type things. Bill says, today I have been on the Route Masters Heritage Bus Days in Surrey. Excellent, can't beat a Route Master. Best bus ever built. Second best bus was the Leyland National. That one's a bit more controversial. But yeah, can't beat a Route Master. I very nearly bought a Route Master once, and I kind of wish I had now. RM980 I nearly bought, and I believe it's still around. It certainly went into preservation. I'm hoping it stayed in preservation. But yeah, it used to run quite locally to me about 30 years ago. RM980. Gambo says, yeah, the phones he's got are like the 300 type of phone. Yeah, if you've got the Indian ones, Gambo, they're the same on the outside. They're not all the same on the inside very often. Bill says one of the guys said he owned the Route Master. It wasn't Pete and his bus, was it, Bills? Yeah, there's a guy on YouTube called Pete and his bus is the name of the channel. Very entertaining channel, very good. Bill says, I could see you driving a Route Master, Andy. Yeah, I have driven one. I've driven a coach, actually. I've driven a Green Line coach, a Route Master coach. They go like stink. They do. Christopher says he's just sent a photo of the Betcar machine. Yeah. My problem with driving a Route Master is getting in to it, because it's high up. You sort of have to scramble up the wheel and get in that way. Well, AEC who did it, was it Leyland who did it, or did both do it? One company very thoughtfully put like a trim ring on the wheel nuts, which you can use as a step and stand on that to get in. Leyland certainly did it for a while. I'm wondering if AEC did it, who built the Route Masters as well. I can't remember how the hell I used to get in this RMC. But yeah, Green Line Route Master coach, very nice vehicle. But yeah, excellent Route Master running day. Very good Route Masters. They'll be around forever because they're basically built more or less completely out of aluminium, so they don't rust. But yeah, absolutely fantastic machines. But yeah, really good Route Masters. Like I say, we used to have them around here. The one used to go up to Crouch, RM980 used to go up to Crouch on sort of summer Sundays and certain other days in the week in the school holidays in the summer as well. Wesley said the forward control Land Rovers had that feature on the wheel for a step. Yeah, they blooming need it as well, because they're higher than a blooming Route Master to get into, they are. I saw a forward control Land Rover the other day. I've always quite fancied a forward control Land Rover. A full forward control one, not a half and half one, but a full one. And I saw one the other day. I think it was an ex-military radio van. Because it got a big box bodywork on it, and I think they were radio vans. That was what the military used them for. And yeah, there was one at the show the other day, and I thought that's a nice Land Rover. Yeah, What puts me off though is having a normal Land Rover in the garage and remembering how many miles per gallon it does, or rather doesn't do. That's what puts me off a bit, because they're a little thirsty. But yeah, very good forward control Land Rovers. If anybody's got one for sale, don't tell me about it, because I might end up buying it. Wesley says they're often ex-military ambulances. Yeah, I've seen them as ambulances. I think this one I saw was a radio van, because it had got things on the outside of it for like sticking masts, antennas and things into. So I think this particular one was a radio van, but I have seen them as ambulances, because they have to be forward control to be an ambulance, I think, to give them enough length in the back to get a stretcher in. Christopher said, Andy, did you know the UK AEC bus manufacturing company made buses for Australia? Yeah, they made buses for all over the world, Christopher. I think most UK manufacturers made buses for Australia at various points. No, Leyland did a lot, AEC did a lot, Leyland did a lot. We had some bendy buses here, and they actually shipped the buses in Sheffield in the early 80s, about 1981. And when they'd done with them, they actually shipped a lot of them. And there weren't many, there were only about 10 in total, but some of them, about 8 or 9 of them I think, got shipped out to Australia, complete vehicles, for further service. Yeah. Right. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Next thing to tell you all about, Christopher will like this. CNET is up and running again. Yeah. If you plug your CNET system in, Christopher, you should find that you've got a dial tone on it again. It's up and running again. Not all the numbers at this end are up and running, but the basic CNET system is up and running. So all those of you who have got phones on CNET, on your old-fashioned dial plans and things, you can now ring each other again and chat to each other. And anybody who wants a phone on CNET, get in touch with me, andy@coldpress.net, and I'll explain how it all works for getting a phone onto the CNET system. But yeah, I have got it working again. It's up on the windowsill up there. So yeah, CNET is up and running. Christopher said we get cockatoos in my area. Crikey. Do you? What? Wild? Cockatoos? That's like the thing you used to have on play school, isn't it? That was a cockatoo, that white bird that used to have on play school. Christopher says the AEC buses here are called AEC Regals. Yeah, they'll be very old now, an AEC Regal. They were a thing like the 1940s, 1950s. AEC Regals. I think they maybe went on into the 60s, like a Regal 5 and a Regal 6. I think they might have made them into the 1960s, but they certainly didn't get as far as the 70s. They were making other things by then. In fact, AEC didn't last long into the 70s. I think AEC got taken over by Leyland or something like that happened. But yeah. Christmas says he's finally got his landline connected. Hooray! Marvellous. Crikey. There's a lot of progress going on this week. We've all been very productive somehow this week. Talking of being productive, Christopher's not the only person been sending things in. I've had a mystery package. In the mystery package was this. Now, you look at this and you think, oh, it's a 706 telephone. Because that's what I thought. Oh look, it's a nice 60s one with the chevrons in the finger wheel. Yeah, but it's a clone because it's just got numbers on the outside. Not numbers and letters, and when you turn it over there's no GPO markings, but it does say ATE in the middle of it, if I can get it in the right light. Can you see that ATE right in the middle in a circle there, just above that screw? So this phone came along and I looked at it and I thought, oh, quite a nice black phone to have been sent in a box with other items. And then I did this. And that's when I realised not all was as it seems. Right, if I turn it round so you can see it a bit easier. Right. First person to spot something a bit odd about this phone wins absolutely nothing, but have a go anyway. Right, first person to spot something odd about it. Okay. Have you spotted anything odd about it yet? No? Jason King, who I don't actually think is Jason King, says, glad you got it okay, quite unusual. I think Jason King may be a pseudonym for Arthur. But, right. Or Arthur may be a pseudonym for Jason King, who knows? Right. I'm going to show you something. Right. So Jason King is not allowed to play this game because he probably knows the answer. But I'm going to dial a number again. Watch. Did you spot anything weird about that? Wesley says dial finger stops weird. Yeah, that's a weird shape, but there's something else as well. There's something else weird about it. Alright, I'll do it again. Did you see it? Right. You didn't see it, did you? Right, I'm going to move it slowly, and then you'll see it. Right, can you see what's odd about this? Normally, when you've got a black dial on a black phone, you've got those chevrons, you put your finger in the dial, and no, Wesley, not the dial speed. Normally you put your finger in the dial and you do that, but normally the chevrons are on a back plate behind the finger wheel. The chevrons don't move. On this, if I do it slowly, the little chevrons, arrows, whatever you want to call them, the plate moves. Yeah, Wesley spotted it now. You see him going round? I have never ever seen that before. I've never seen that before. That is totally, as far as I know, unique. I've never seen that happen before. But ATE did make some weird things. So it's a bit weird, and it gets weirder as we get into it, because in the middle of here there's no plastic thing to get off of my suction cup, but there is plastic in there, but it's held in like on a dial 12 on a Bakelite phone, and that it's held in with a snap ring. So shall we see if we can take the snap ring off and see where that gets us. So I've now got to find the end of this snap ring, which I think is there somewhere. Trying to stand myself again. Let me stand up and do it. Is the end at the bottom there? I might just have to turn it round just to take this ring off. I can't do this upside down and back to front thing. That's why I never worked on Blue Peter, because I couldn't do things upside down and back to front. And you won't believe it, I did this the other day dead easy, and now, because I'm doing it on camera, of course I can't do it dead easy. Right, what you find happens is the bit of plasticky stuff comes out first, and then the Reliance telephone co thing comes out next, and they should all have come out after the snap ring, of course. Right? There's the snap ring. There's the snap ring. And now, just lifts off. You'd think, wouldn't you? But not in this case, because there's a whopping great nut in the middle of it. Can you see that? Right, so that's weird. So let's see what's inside this phone. Have you had this apart, Arthur? Have you looked inside it? So another thing to show you, if I go any further actually with this, is look at these plungers. They're not standard. They're little black ones like GPR, but the GPO ones are kind of squarish. These ones are round. These are round. So they're not standard. Also on a GPO phone, these screws will be retained with a fancy nut on the bottom of them. which on this they're not. Jason King, stroke Arthur, says, I've only seen this one too. It says, I've sent it to you, Andy, hoping you will preserve it in your museum. I think it is rare enough to be included. I think you might be right, Arthur. In fact, I'm sure you're right. Because I've never seen one like it before, and when you take the top off, which incidentally for some reason comes off easier than a GPO one, you've got that inside, and people who know what a 706 phone looks like inside are now all going, what's that? Evening, Dominic. No. Dominic says, it looks like YouTube didn't send a notification. Is that a Pi clone? No, Dominic, it's not anything as common as that. It's a ATE clone, and it is weird in the extreme. No, this is not a Pi dial. I've got a couple of those with the Pi dials, and this is not a Pi dial. This is something else. I think it's a foreign dial, with it having this big nut in the middle. But just look at everything else. It's weird beyond belief. Now, there's loads of things that have been cut. Loads of wires that have been undone or have been cut and don't seem to go anywhere, yada yada yada. But just ignore the wires, and it's about as far removed from a 706 as you can get. For a start, there's some extra terminal blocks here. They've had something on them that's been cut. I'm guessing, and this is just a guess, I'm guessing this is where some dial cords terminated, because there's 5 of them. So I'm guessing the cord went from your dial to there, and then from there elsewhere. So I'm guessing that a dial cord terminating on it. Bell, where's the bells? You ask yourself. Well, there's only one, and it's under there, under this oddball V arrangement. So there's only one gong, and the gong is actuated by this and a weirdly shaped clapper that this has. Now this is loose, so I'm wondering if it's got a screw missing out of it. This seems to me to be very loose. But then where's everything else? Capacitor, induction coil. Well, there's no induction coil in it, but there's not even a capacitor in it. There is nothing else in it other than a ginormous switch there, which appears to be the hook switch. But then there's been somebody's bobbed a bit of solder on there, and just left it, or perhaps it was the iron chicken off the clangers that had a mishap, because that's what it looks like. But it is the most bizarre thing. Turn it round to the side so you can see round the back. So what is it? Where did it come from? What was it used for? Have I got all the bits? Is there anything missing? I'm feeling there might be something missing from just here. But I don't know that for certain. But it is the most bizarre thing. Really, really strange. Really quite odd. So if anybody knows anything about this, made by ATE, then let me know. Dominic says, I saw a grey 741 in a charity shop in Doncaster going for £30. Yeah, it's about 3 times what it ought to have been going for, that, Dominic. So yeah, what is this? What is it? We've got no idea what it is. We know it's made by ATE. We know from the dial label that it was supplied to the Reliance Telephone Company Limited, a GEC subsidiary. Listen before dialing, it says. Extension number, and it doesn't look as if there's been an extension number written on it. So I can't tell you any more about it than that. The dial is most bizarre. It really is bizarre, the dial. And there's a load of cut wires, which I've got no idea at all where any of them go to. It is the strangest thing. Don't think I've ever seen anything quite this bizarre before. Can we tighten that up somehow? Oh, there's a screw there, that might. I'll need to tighten that up. Screw through the bottom. It really is most peculiar. Most peculiar. It moves about quite a lot. And if you move it too far up there, that can't actuate. But if you move it to where it can actuate, it can't touch the bell. So is it actually in the right place? At all? I don't know. It's the most bizarre thing. So if you know anything at all about it, please do get in touch, because we've never seen a phone quite like it before. So if you know what it is, do get in touch with us. Right, I'm just stopping something there so I can. Right, if you know anything about it, you know who to call. Not Ghostbusters, but us, because it is most bizarre. You know, everything is like different. Even the way the case holds on, because of the metal bar at the front here, the two little lugs here on a normal 706 case go under, but normally they just go through holes in the plastic here. Well, on this there's a metal bar. The plastic's not got holes in it; it's just got like troughs cut into it. But there's a metal bar for it to operate against, for it to hold against. So it is the most weird phone I think I've ever seen. You know, if you weren't really keeping an eye out, you'd kind of miss it. You know, you'd not spot the fact it was weird if you weren't really looking for it. So if anybody knows anything about it, get in touch with us. Right, I will catch up with the chat in just a minute when I've got these two screws back in. I'm keen to put these back in so I don't lose them, because these screws, I wouldn't want to have to try and get some, because they're fairly unique. These are case screws. I think the screw is the same as the ones in a normal 706. It's just that they haven't got the nut that makes them captive on the other end. Probably as a way of making the telephone cheaper to produce by not putting that nut on, because it's all about cheapness with clone phones. So yeah, if anybody knows anything about it, do get in touch with us. Right, what are folks saying about it all in the chat? Yeah, Arthur stroke Jason King says, I've only seen this one. I sent it to you in the hope that you'll preserve it in the museum. Yeah, certainly will. Dominic says, is it a Pi clone? No, it's definitely not a Pi clone, Dominic. It's definitely ATE. Bill says, there's 12 watching. Is it a world record, Andy? No, I don't think it is actually, Bills. Don't think it is. A lot of people watch, but not many people actually watch live. Yeah, a lot of people watch, but not necessarily live. Bill says, is it an N1900? No, it's not Ericsson. And Bill Stroke Jason says, no Andy, I never got round to opening it up. So I've just done it there. What's weird about it is the black dial on it isn't actually black. Don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but if I can, how do I get it under a camera now? That one. You can see it sideways on, but it's actually clear. The dial itself, if you look through the edge of it, I don't know if you can see, sort of there, is sort of clear with black pigment sort of painted on the back, I think. So even that is a bit strange. So I've got no clue what's going on with it really. Where it says, is it an ATE telephone number 6? Is the mic the same as a 300? That's a good question. I don't know. We'll have a look, shall we? An ATE telephone number 6. Yes, it's one of the early ones, not wired up. So somebody's really had this phone apart, not wired up at all. But these, what I call early 706 microphones, you can actually fit these to candlesticks. The design goes that far back. So yes, I think it is the same as a 300. I think a 300 has them in, doesn't it? And that end. What's in this end? That's the interesting part. Oh yeah, it is like a 300 series. Because the sort of speaker end of it has got one of these that you pull off sideways, just like a 300 series. Yeah. This is remove and replace diaphragm only by gently sliding sideways. It's a diaphragm number 25, and what you have to do to put these on is put them on like that and slide them sideways. Like that. So yeah, it is like a 300 series. Very much so. I wouldn't say that's different as well. Yeah, it is. Look at this cap. This end cap. I get that up. Away in my hand somewhere. Look, it's got 7 holes in it, rather than just having one big hole in the middle. It's got 7 little ones. So that's different as well. So we are thinking it's an ATE telephone number 6 according to Wesley. Dominic says, I wonder if that is a case of ATE trying to make their own improvements to the 706 before the 746, or their own bid for the 706 design. I think it's them trying to make a cheaper version of a 706 to sell privately. I think that's what it is. Wesley says, it uses 332 transmission, so that's unlikely. It says ATE telephone number 6, I'm sure. dates to 1960. Dominic says, you're on 1,620 subscribers, it seems. What will you do at 2,000 subscribers, Andy? No idea, Dominic. I don't think we'll get there for ages, because we hit 1,000 subscribers about 5 years ago. So it's a really, really slow thing, because you lose a lot of subscribers, you see. And I don't think it's people actually unsubscribing. I think YouTube automatically unsubscribes people. And so if you've not had a notification today, Dominic, just make sure you're still subscribed, because you might not be. It's a known problem with YouTube, secretly unsubscribing people. Right, so we think it's an ATE telephone number 6. That's what popular consensus of opinion is. So if I type that into the internet, ATE telephone number 6. Oh yeah, it looks a lot like it. Right. According to Bob Freshwater's site, BritishTelephones.com, it says this: the telephone case and handset are of a completely new design. This is dated 1960. The telephone case and handset are of a completely new design that is modern in conception, aesthetically pleasing and functionally efficient. As shown in figure 1, the design is similar to that of the new British Post Office number 706 telephone, which carries the approval of the British Council of Industrial Design. A new dial, the ATE number 5 L11727A dial, and a new ATE ringer are incorporated. And I am now looking at it and thinking it don't look anything like that inside. Ooh. Ooh. Isn't that weird? The case is a one-piece thermoplastic moulding of polymethyl methacrylate, marketed under the trade name of Diacon. Yeah, it could be Diacon, it's very shiny. And it's got here in one piece. That were lucky then. Oh, there's the tiniest chip on the handset, on the where the cable enters the handset. Under the trade name of Diacon, it is designed to be quickly removable from the rest of the instrument. Its function as a cover and is secured to the mechanism by 2 captive screws, so they should be captive, so maybe somebody just lost the nuts off them, by 2 captive screws accessibly located in the cradle recess. A moulded projection is also provided inside the front edge of the case. This projection hooks under a metal plate screwed to the base, thus giving rigidity to the assembly. Removal of the cover leaves the mechanism, including the dial, undisturbed. The lower edges of the case are arranged to seat over the flanged base to provide insect proofing. A rectangular aperture located at the top of the case is designed to accommodate a push-button micro switch or a lamp. I think he means lamp, not lamp. I think he means a thing you switch on, not a thing that goes meh. If neither is required, the aperture is covered by a dummy moulding fixed to the case by a spring clip, which this one is. Provision is also made for the addition of 2 push buttons at the front corners of the angled surface of the cover. To simplify this addition, drill center spots and locating projections are provided on the inside. The push button would be secured to the mechanism and remain in position upon removal of the cover. Right, so it should have a capacitor in it, which is missing, but at least I've got pictures now on Bob Freshwater's site. Don't know if I can show you this or not, can I? Yeah, I can. So here it is. And so this is the phone. Note the weird shaped finger stop that's on there. And if you look at this picture of it, you can see there, I believe that thing there, that looks to me like an induction coil, and in the next photo down it looks like that's the gong coil there, and this is a fairly standard looking capacitor on this side. Circuit and wiring. The BPO number 332 telephone circuit is employed. Graph of the sending and receiving performance of this circuit is shown in figure 4. The values were obtained by using a 50 volt stone transmission bridge, 200 plus 200 ohm relay, the circuit of which is illustrated in figure 5. The circuit of the basic instrument is shown in figure 6. The arrangements for dial interrupter spring, spark quenching, the 30 ohm non-inductive winding of the induction coil, plus the 2 microfarad capacitor, and for radio interference suppression, the 0.1 microfarad capacitor are retained. The use of a 3-point plug and socket for line connection is, however, an innovation, and mechanical details are described later in the bulletin. Alternatively, a standard line termination block can be provided. Right, so if we look at this basic wiring diagram of it, it's got a bell that goes between T14 and T3 by the looks of it. It should have a 2 microfarad capacitor that goes between T13 and T3. It should have an induction coil in it. And it should have a 0.1 microfarad capacitor as well. So yeah. The handset, figure 7 shows the handset with the transmitter and receiver withdrawn. The body of the handset is a one-piece moulding of Diacon, shaped to give a comfortable grip. It is fitted with a moulded cord housing insert, cemented in position at the transmitter end. The ear cap and mouthpiece are of the screw-on type with coarse threads for robustness and quick removal. Yada yada yada. The BPO number 1L receiver, as previously used in the number 162 handset, is fitted. The receiver casing has been modified so that the receiver can now be inserted into the new shape of handset. The dial, the ATE number 5 dial of basic new design is used. Figure 8 is a rear view of the complete dial assembly. Figure 9 illustrates a dial mounting. 2 plates are attached to the rear of the dial base. These plates are in turn secured to the dial mounting bracket by 2 screws. Slotted fixing holes in the plates enable easy removal of the dial from its mounting bracket. The number 5 dial transmits 10 impulses per second with a standard 2:1 break to mate ratio. A 2-pulse masked period occurs at the commencement of each impulse train. The design of the new dial provides exceptional accessibility to the mechanism, with the exception of the main spring. The complete mechanism is attached to the rear of the dial base plate. An easily removable transparent cover secured to the base plate by 2 screws provides complete dust proofing with ready visibility. Ringer. Now the ringer that I've got is not what is shown here. It is not what is shown here. A single coil, single gong ringer of a new design is fitted. The illustration figure 9 shows the ringer assembly and the position in which it is mounted in the base. A bracket secured to the telephone base prevents the gong from twisting around on its central fixing screw. That's why there's a bit out the edge of the gong then. The salient features of the new ringer are: the construction is simple and robust, it is light and compact, there is easy adjustment, the gong is self-adjusting, leaving only the air gap to be adjusted. It's self-adjusting. Owing to its high resistance winding, 650 ohms, it absorbs less power than previous designs. Efficient sound emission through gauze covered holes in the base plate, the gauze preventing possible ingress of insects. A manually operated external changeover lever which extends to the underside of the telephone base enables the ringer to be used as a bell or buzzer as required. Right. All interesting stuff. Type 6PB2. This instrument incorporates the facilities of Type 6PB1, and in addition it has a push button located to the right. Type 6CB. PMBX instrument. The PABX instrument, the Type 6P81. This instrument employs one earthing push button. Yeah, I've not got that. Colours. The following single colour range is provided: black, ivory colour, light French grey, forest green, lacquer, topaz yellow and Concord blue. Duotone colours are provided in grey, light French grey case and elephant grey handset, and green, aircraft grey green case and forest green handset. The dial and outer number ring are coloured to match the handset. Well, so it's an ATE telephone number 6. So that's what it is. Oh, hang on. Sorry. You were black while I was doing... Oh, no, you weren't. It was... Yeah, it's alright. I know what I did wrong. I know what button I pressed wrong there. Yeah, so that's what it is. It's an ATE telephone number 6. So yeah, very strange. So it came out a couple of years after the 706. So it was obviously ATE using 706 bits and using 300 series bits they got left over as well, probably, to make a cheap version of the 706 for use on private systems for people like Reliance Telephone Co. and that, which we know they did. Christopher says, I got my ATA working on CNET, and Wesley says, check your codes on the mouldings. If I can read them, Wesley, I'll check them. But I never can in this light because it shines in them. No, I've got absolutely no chance of reading that. I have to do it. I've not got the light on things because the light shines in them and I can't see them. Plasma Zombie says, is that a crystal detector receiver? No. Basically. Christopher says, one downside of my new landline, doesn't do pulse dialing, only DTMF, but I have a PBX for pulse to tone. So you're alright then, Christopher. You can still use all your old phone, just run through the PBX, which is exactly what I do. Right, so I think we've decided then that that this thing here is an ATE, what would you say, telephone number 6, did we say? Yeah, from around about 1960-ish. Has it got domed feet? Yes, it has. It's not got feet with a recessing, so it is quite an old one. But it does need a lot of work doing because there's things not in the right place, I think, and things not screwed down that should be screwed down, and all sorts of stuff that's not quite right about it. So yeah, I do need to quite a bit of work on it to get it going, but it'll be an interesting challenge, that one. I kind of want to get it going because I want to hear what that gong's like, because that's really different to anything else. So it's going to ring in a different way, and it's going to make a different sound when it rings. So that will be interesting. So watch this space for updates on that one, I would say. Right. Christopher's got his CNET phones up and running, it says. It says one is a yellow N1900A66 and the other is a grey N1900E244. Gambo says, I'll need to get your address again so I can send these 3 nightmares to you. Yeah, I don't know how best to do it, Gambo. I'm a bit... because black ones will be Bakelite, ivory ones will be not Bakelite and not Diacon. They're made out of something else, and I don't know how that holds up in the post, so I'm a bit reluctant to say post them. Yeah, might have to have another trip to Blackpool and collect them. Yeah. Yeah, let's have a bit of a think on that one, Gambo. Gambo says, I bought a load of compact-only telephones and some bell sets, waiting on them arriving. Right. Have you bought the compacts without the bell sets attached to them then, Gambo? You can use them without the bell set. They're not actually technically a bell set in a compact. It's a bell, not a bell set. The difference being, a bell set has got an induction coil in it, a bell hasn't. Because with the compact they're weird, because the induction coil is actually in the phone. So you can wire them to work without a bell, basically, a compact. Yeah, but well done if you've got a load of compacts, because they're quite rare compacts, particularly the blue ones, the bright blue compact phones. They are the rarest colour in those. So yeah, well, they will be an interesting arrival when they come. I got one the other week. It's been here a while, but I can get it. It's up here. This one came on its own. Now it's a compact phone made by GPO or for the GPO, and underneath it's got a prohibited sticker. You must not connect this to the network. And I think the reason that it's prohibited, it is a 776, it is a GPO phone, 776 from 1981. I think the reason it's got a prohibited sticker on it is because it's not got a bell in it, and you had to have bells in your phones. You weren't allowed to have a phone without a bell that could ring. That's why trim phones had that little screw in the little loudness adjuster, so you couldn't switch it off. But yeah, so this is a compact. These are, although they look a bit ivory, they are technically grey, these. But yeah, this one's missing its opal out of the middle there. But this came on its own, and I say I think the reason why it's banned from being connected to the network is because it's not got a ringer in it. But we will verily ignore that, because I don't think there's anybody left at BT now that understands the difference between a green circle and a red triangle. I don't think, ask an open reach engineer the difference between a green circle and a red triangle. I bet none of them can tell you. I say open reach engineer in the loosest possible terms, because many of them are actually not engineers these days. They are school leavers who have been on a couple of days training course, and then they come here, and of course when they come here, to understand what we've got here, they need a bit more than a couple of days training course, and they come here and they go away and have an attack of the screaming abdabs when they've been here. It's absolutely hilarious, an open reach engineer coming in here. They normally sort of stand frozen at the door for quite some time. But occasionally you get an old guy who's been with the company years, and he comes in and he goes, "Oh crikey," and then just walks straight in and totally gets everything. But a lot of them, the younger ones, they just stand at the door and like freeze and go, "My training course hasn't covered this, help." Gambo says that these compacts that you're getting were sold separately by the seller. He says he's got 2 blue ones and waiting on 2 white ones. Well, they'll be grey ones, like that one I've just shown you, Gambo. And the brown one. And the white ones have had the bell set removed, sold separately. So the brown but is got a shelf type bell set. Also, the brown one's got the wall fit in. Then well, that's good because they're rare. Bill says, "Andy, I have some news. I am doing a talk on number changes and history at the Stoke Newington History Society in London." Crikey, that'll be interesting. Yeah. Oh, blimey, you're doing it in London as well. That's the hardest place to do a talk about number changes, because of how big it is and how numbers grew in London. If you were doing it in some little sort of provincial town, it would be a lot easier to explain how you get to a telephone number from today, and it's got an ancient, maybe 3 or 4 digit telephone number embedded within it. But in London it's much more difficult because of London being so big, basically. But Bills, this is where CNET might come to your rescue, because CNET uses the old pre-group switching centre numbering system. So, for instance, if you want to call Chesterfield Exchange on CNET, you don't type in 01246 like you would now. You actually have to dial 0246 without the 1 in it. Christopher says, "My landline telephone I have in service are now downstairs. My Snowden brown and cream trim phone are upstairs. A GPO Red 746L from 1968, and in my railway a GEC 711 clone as a landline phone." Crikey. Gambo says, I've also got 2 Jubilee phones coming. One with the bells and one without. And both have not got the crowns in the centre. Oh, that's a shame, no crowns. Bummer. I remember there are 2 sorts of crowns. There's a British crown and a Scottish crown as well. And I've got no clue what sorts I've got. Never looked that closely at them. But yeah, now a Jubilee Gambo is different to a 776. They are not the same phone. The differences basically mainly are in the bell unit. But if you open a bell unit on a Jubilee and a bell unit on a 776, you will see the different. One has got like twice as many terminals inside it as the other. I did do a video about this years ago, which you'll be able to find if you go back on the channel, where I got the different compact phones and opened them all up side by side and showed the differences. So it might be worth going back and having a little look for that. But they work basically the same, but there's more options on how to wire it up in one of them. It's a bit complicated to explain, but it becomes more sensible when you actually see them wired up. So when you get them and you have a look at them, you'll understand how they work. They're quite good phones actually. They're not bad phones at all. I particularly like the ones on the little wall shelf. It reminds me how they used to put pyramid phones on a wall, you know, the 200 series. Very similar idea, but nowhere near as heavy. Bill says, I've got a brown wall bracket too for a brown compact telephone Gambo. Cool. I don't know if did the Jubilees have a wall bracket? Did they do a dark blue wall bracket for the Jubilees? I don't know if they did or not. I'm not certain. I have a feeling they did, but I'm not certain. But yeah. But the compacts you've got without bells though, Gambo, you can still wire them up and use them even though they've not got bells attached, because you'll find that the all-important induction coil is actually in the telephone, and I have seen it done where people have put little tiny brass bells into a compact phone as well, so it rings and you don't have to have the bell box. Wesley says, yes, there was a bracket available for the Jubilees. Yeah, I thought there was. Excellent. Yeah. The compacts are a little known phone. There must have been a lot of them out there, but nobody seems to remember them. Nobody remembers them or seems to have had them, but there were quite a lot out there because quite a lot still turn up. So, yeah, I don't know. The one I've always liked is the Contemporary. You know, if you're going to have a phone that's not an ordinary phone, in the sort of 70s, 80s, whatever, I think Contemporary is the one I would have gone for. Just something about the Contemporaries I really like. I like that dial with the moving finger stop, that crazy dial. I think that's just brilliant. Gambo says the Jubilee had a bracket, but it was different to the 776 compact bracket. Right. Well, the actual workings inside it, the bell that goes inside it was certainly different. So it follows that the bracket might have been different. Christopher says, Andy, what colours are rare in the 711 and 741? Right, they only did them basically in 3 colours, Christopher. They did them in two-tone grey, they did them in ivory, and they did them in black. And they are the only colours that they did. Now, they definitely did not do green. They definitely did not do yellow. They definitely did not do Concord blue. That leaves red. And red is open to debate. Now, somebody on here, and I've forgotten who it is, has got a red one. So if it's one of you guys that's on tonight, forgive me for forgetting who it is. But somebody in here has got a red one. And we had a conversation and we kind of verified it as being original. Because there's always been this room that they made red ones to go in fire stations. And I always said they wouldn't make red cases just for the few that they would install in fire stations. And some fire stations had grey phones with a red dial bezel and I think possibly a red handset on them. But a grey body. And of course you can do that easily because you're making red bits for the table telephones, for the 706s and 746s. So the only bit that's unique really is the body, and I think that's why some fire stations had them with grey bodies. But somebody's got a red one with a red body and we kind of verified that it was genuine. So there must have been one of the companies that was making the plastics, you know, these phones were made by lots of different companies for the GPO. One of those companies must have made a batch of red ones. So the rarest colour, I'm going to say, if it's genuine, is red. But in recent years there have been a lot of new cases made in different colours, including red. Now I don't know if these are made from the original moulds or not, I'm not sure about these, but they are new cases. So if you see a red wall phone, be very suspicious that it's a new case. Be very suspicious. Arthur says, Wesley, your red one looked legit. I think it was Wesley who was on about it. I think it was Wesley who we were talking to. Oh yeah, it says, it's me, and mine is definitely an original red one. Not from the same moulds as the current crop of remanufactured ones. Question though, Wesley. Some were remanufactured before by a guy in Cambridgeshire, in a place called Chatwis in Cambridgeshire. They were probably made about 10 or 15 years ago. Could your red one be one of those? Or do you know for certain that your red one is totally original period, i.e. did you get it out of a fire station or something, or you know it came out of a fire station? Because it's just a nightmare checking the authenticity of things, because there's basically 2 batches of modern cases that have come out. There's the modern cases that are now made for Britphone, and it's an old bloke with a moulding machine that makes these cases for Britphone from original moulds. So they are using a set of the original moulds. If you imagine when there were like maybe 30 companies making 746s and 706s and 711s and 741s, there are about 30 companies that made them, and if they've all got a set of moulds, at least one set each company, to make the cases, that's a lot of set of moulds out there. So what I'm saying is, have two sets of moulds survive. One set that Britphone guy uses, and one set that we used by this guy in Chatteris about 15, maybe 20 years ago. Or indeed, is it the same guy that's moved and making them for Britphone now? I don't know is the answer, but I'd be interested to know. Wesley says, I'm confident mine was original. The components and mouldings all relate to GEC factories, of which there were many. So yeah, it's interesting that. And it says the dates all tally too. Perhaps there were some red ones in fire stations then. I'm not going to say there definitely weren't, but I can't say hand on heart there definitely were. Because I've not had any first-hand evidence, other than what you've got there, Wesley, of them. So, to me, jury's still out on it. I'm prepared to be open-minded, but 99%, I think we can all agree, 99% of the ones that are out there will be ones that have been recently made. So I think Wesley's probably just got very lucky there. Arthur says, a Smarties advert from 1978 had a red 741. I think it's on YouTube. Wesley says the new moulds also feature the later receiver caps too, the pepper pot type. Yeah, but you can change them, can't you, Wesley? So, you know, get them mixed up all the time, don't they? A Smarties advert from 1978 had a red 741. Right, be careful there, Arthur, because television people are absolute buggers for painting telephones. And in the days of 625 line TV, before we had HD and before we had widescreen and all that, the picture quality isn't good enough to be able to tell. But there was certainly a gold-plated trim phone used on the Golden Shot that was painted by the TV company, or plated even by the TV company. There were grey trim phones with various different coloured, oddball coloured handsets used on multicoloured swap shop. There was a pink 706 or a 706 clone used on Emu's All Life Pink Windmill show, where everything basically on the set was pink, so the phone had to be pink. And I'm pretty sure that one was painted in the studio. And the classic thing that was painted, not a telephone at all, is the typewriter in the movie The Shining, which I think was orange originally, and Stanley Kubrick, directing The Shining, wanted it grey. And so they broke for filming one lunchtime, and a props man at L3 Studios painted it grey over lunchtime. I know this because the props man told me. Yeah. Um, yeah. Dominic says an Adler typewriter, I think. I can't remember now, Dominic. I did trace the typewriter some months ago. I did track down exactly what model of typewriter it is. There are a lot of similar models of typewriter made by the same company, but that one, I think it is an Adler. Yeah, I think you're right, it is an Adler. But that particular one is quite unusual. There's things about how Adler is spelt out across it, and the spacing of the word Adler, and there's things about the keyboard and various special keys on the keyboard and things that make it one particular variant of a typewriter, which there are a lot of variants, and I was looking for one and basically couldn't. And these Adler typewriters don't fetch much money at all until you get that variant from the Shining, and then they fetch a fortune. But yeah, TV people paint telephones. Basically, that's what I'm saying. So when you've seen something on a TV program, they've probably had the rattle can around it. They do it all the time. All the time. It's very, very common. I mean, you've seen me pop up on here with painted telephones and stuff. But yeah, you see, in America, Western Electric did it. When they refurbish their telephones in America, they do actually paint them different colours as part of the refurbishing program. They don't put new cases on like we did in this country. They just refurbish the old cases and they actually paint them. And I don't know what they paint them with, but the paint sticks quite well. You really have to work to figure out whether or not it's been painted or whether it is the actual proper colour of the case. But we never painted them in this country, the plastic phones. They've always been moulded in the colour they are. The Smarties advert with a red 741. I'll have to go away and look that one up. But yeah, who knows? There are all kinds of weird things out there. All kinds of weird things, as we've proved here tonight with this ATE phone. That there's always going to be something that turns up, even now. I mean, what are we on? We're on to Series 17 of this live stream, and it's episode 7 today, and there are still phones turning up that I've not seen before. So every day's a school day, as they say. Right, I think that probably is about it for today. It's getting on for 9 o'clock. In fact, it is 9 o'clock. Thanks to everybody for taking part once again. We will hopefully be back next week around about the same time. So yeah, until next week, have a fantastic week ahead. Remember, we do have the forum at gpotelephones.proboards.com. and we will see you here around about the same time, 7 o'clock next week. But from me, for now, have a brilliant week ahead. I'm now going to go and search Smarties adverts. So until next time, bye for now.